right, so I'm going to hit record and we'll do it to it.
Cool.
Hey everyone, this is Nic LaRue from FilmSnobbery, and I am here at the Oxford Film Festival here at Oxford, Mississippi, and I am here today with...
Kevin O'Brien.
Hey Kevin, what movie are you here with today?
At the End of the Day.
And what is that movie all about?
It's a dramatic comedy. It's a narrative film that kind of lives in the tension between the evangelical church and the LGBTQ community. We specifically focus on the LGBTQ youth who are facing religious rejection. We follow Dave, a conservative Christian professor and counselor who finds himself planted in a gay support group to stop them from opening an LGBTQ youth shelter in their small town.
How do you, I mean, it is a fairly, in terms of like the real life ramification stuff, is a fairly serious subject, but how do you find the comedy in it?
Well, I feel like the comedy is the important entry point, you know, like to let guards down. Laughter is a great disarmer of people. So I felt like that was important from the very beginning, and to, as much as possible, make our main character, who in most of the real world, especially in the South, is usually the person with the most influence and the most power. As a white, straight, cisgender guy, he has the most influence or power and privilege. Put him in a situation where he feels uncomfortable and really has to see the world through other people's perspectives. So to me, the comedy is hard and scary to do, especially with such a serious topic, especially with myself being a straight, white, cisgender guy. But I feel like I knew from the beginning that was going to be really important to have that be the entry point.
As you mentioned, straight, white, cisgendered man, which is a very mouthful. We need to come up with something of our own on that one. How was there ever concern about portraying any of the LGBT characters, let's say, accurately? Not necessarily. I mean, it's a comedy, but it doesn't have to be a farce, so to speak. So, or a parody. Were you ever concerned about, like, I want to make sure that, oddly enough, that the gay characters are played? They're playing it straight, but not straight in the way that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my number one. That was my number one concern from the very beginning. Of first of all, is this my story to tell? I feel like the way that we tell the story, and the character that we focus on, and the way he is affected, that is my story to tell, for sure. But that's been every time from the very first time I wrote, shared the screenplay with some of my gay friends, that was the first thing I wanted to know. Like, does this ring true? Does this feel authentic? And it's always been responded to as that. Specifically, my friends who are in the LGBTQ community who attend conservative Christian schools. The thing I hear over and over again is, you told my story, and that feels so real. And that is by far, like, that moves me so much that I was able to do that.
It's weird when you do something like that's like a dramatic comedy, where some people gravitate more towards the comedy aspects, and probably because they're uncomfortable with the situation, whether within themselves or the situation they're seeing, because they recognize it, or they get embroiled into the dramatic aspect because it really does reflect their lives. Is that, is what's the takeaway you're hoping for your audiences that see it? Do you hope to have more, people that are affected by the comedy, or more that are affected by the drama? What was the overall kind of, I don't even know where the hell I'm going with the damn question, to be honest with you. It happens. All right, do it up.
So I feel, of course, most, the drama is what kind of drives the story. The drama is what's the heartbreaking thing about this story. But I feel like those are almost the easier parts to tell as far as writing and developing the story, because those are so real and they happen so often. So it's not like I'm having to imagine, it's not like I'm having to create this idea of a kid in a conservative Christian home who has to come out to his parents and what that reaction is like. Like, we've seen that, we've heard that over and over again. I feel like the comedy is what makes it approachable, and I feel like that's the hardest thing to do, and that's also what I'm just terrified of every time I see it, is are those things going to land? And what's interesting is that there there are jokes and funny moments in there specifically for people who grew up in an evangelical youth group, some specific that they will get and other people won't get. So some screenings have crickets on those moments, and I know they're hilarious, and then other screenings are, huge laughter at those moments. And then there are some specific jokes and moments in there for the LGBT community. Like I intentionally tried to put as a variety of moments in there like that. Again, to disarm and to welcome people in, but ultimately to help them realize that we all can change. Like we can change the way that we see the world, the way we treat each other, the language that you use. I mean, you were talking about we got to come up with a shorter thing for straight, white cisgender guys. I mean, I kind of like it because I feel like. We have everything else going for us in the world, you know what I mean? Like we can learn some new words. We can learn if that's the fullest extent that we got to do. Like I think we can do that. I feel like that's the kind thing to do to learn, to take the time to listen to other people and learn what words mean to them, how the things that we say matter to other people and how they hear it. And that's what I want people to take away.
Now, I think I already know the answer to this based on even just this brief conversation, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I know that other people might have an opinion on it, and I would love to hear yours. So, again, as a white, cisgender, straight man, it's one of those things where you made a movie with LGBTQ themes. Are you ever concerned about it being considered a gay movie as opposed to just, no, it's just a movie? And my business partner were talking about this the other day. We're like, when is it going to be considered like it's not a female director, it's just a director. It's not a gay movie, it's a movie, that just happens to have gay themes or people in it. So, but is it ever concerning to you, especially on a festival circuit where you are asked pretty much, you're graded basically based on, your synopsis and your themes and stuff like that before it's watched? Are you ever concerned of being like, oh, it's a gay movie, especially in the South?
Yeah, I mean early on I think I was more concerned about that. I'm definitely more concerned about it being classified as a faith-based movie. Like that to me is, people ask me that's the first question I get a lot of times. And at first I would say yes but no, like it's what I think that genre could be or should be. But when people ask that, they put it into this category of pure flicks or not really dealing with real issues.
Hallmark movie
or like that sort of thing. So that's what I'm more concerned about. As far as for festivals, I think it helps having that specific category because it gives you a specific niche that just a general movie doesn't specifically have. So at times, I mean, I guess there are some ways that could be hindering, but as far as getting the word out there, that like as specific of an audience as you can find, the easier you can find them. So I love that, and I also love that that it's not what you normally would get as, like, if you go into it thinking it's a gay movie, it's not what you would normally expect from that. When I was at the premiering at the Dance with Films Festival, we played later in the week. And a guy I was talking to was like, does it have sex in it? And I was like, no. He's like, is it what? He asked all these, he's like, how do you make a gay movie without sex in it? And I was like, that's not what it is. Like you got to see it to see it.
My answer to that would have been, I want to know a little bit more about you now.
Right. Well, yeah, his IMDb page it told you all you need to know about him.
Fair enough.
I mean, he was talking about as far as selling it to a distributor. Right. Like that's what they would look for. So yeah. Again, as far as find distribution, it might limit it a little bit, but we're self-distributing it anyway because it's such a specific audience. We feel like we can find the audience better than a distributor can.
Do you feel like now's a really good time to put a movie like this out where you have movies that came before it, like Saved by Brian Danley, and then you have newer movies that are on like Netflix and stuff like Miseducation of Cameron Post and stuff like that we're in a good place societally and also in our viewing habits where a movie with some humor and a bit of a message one way or another is kind of it's gaining traction. So from your perspective, is it a good time to kind of put this kind of stuff out? Or
yeah, I think so, absolutely. I mean, Saved was a huge movie for me, when I first saw it, of like, oh, this is a way that films can talk about about faith and just the specific dynamics of how that affects youth, how that affects people as they grow up and they experience it. Yeah, it's funny. The miseducation that was that was the same. We submitted to Sundance the same year that did, and so we were like, oh, we didn't get in Sundance, and then saw that come out. Of course, that's gonna, of course that's the way that goes. But yeah, I feel like
you're not going to stop Chloe from going to Sundance.
I cannot stop Chloe. No, I can't compete with Chloe. But yeah, so I feel like it's a really good time to release this kind of thing. I feel like there are so many avenues to get. It's easy to get films out there. The hard thing is getting people's attention about it. So that's how the festivals have certainly helped with that, for us to build an audience as we're working towards releasing it.
So I know you kind of talked a little bit about, like, you've been approached by people saying, like, this was my experience, this is great, from the LGBTQ community, having them, appreciate the humor, but also the storytelling behind what you're doing. The question is have you gotten the opposite yet from the conservative side of you, like, I don't think you're that funny? Have you gotten those kind of things yet? Because anyone usually does anything even remotely faith-based, the death threats start coming in and all that stuff. Have you received any backlash yet from this film, from anyone yet?
So the interesting thing about film festivals is that usually people just come to film festivals who would already want to see that movie, So I think most of that backlash is going to come when it's out on iTunes and Amazon and anyone can rent it and see it. We get some comments when people share about our movie or share a trailer, and people just based on the trailer don't see what it, they just assume. Again, they assume what it's going to be, not without seeing it. You don't get all the nuances that we do and the different ways the different characters and the different ways that they experience faith. That certainly the lead character is kind of a typical evangelical person. There's his boss is definitely more on the conservative side and a little bit more influential and powerful. And it's just interesting how certain people will say, "I love how you didn't make anyone like a supervillain. You didn't make anyone a caricature." And then other people will see it and be like, "I don't like what you did with this person. You made them a caricature." So it's all in how people. It's definitely subjective. But I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to get as many people to see this as possible, so I would love some backlash. That'd be great.
And let's talk about your festival, run so far. So, any takeaways from this that, you were like, okay, we've heard what the audience has to say from this round for this film. Maybe the next time we go to make another film, are you ever affected by audience reaction, going like, maybe next time we do this instead of this, or we take this into consideration because we got a lot of questions on this, even from a storytelling perspective, like, I don't understand why you did this. It's like, what, maybe they're right. You ever get into a situation like that?
I think more on the technical aspect about like length. So like we when you start submitting, you aim high. Of course, Sundance is as high as you can aim. But 14,000 submissions, of course you're not going to get in. But by the time we premiered at the Dances with Films in LA, it was a shorter cut than we had submitted other places. And then our international sales agent suggested that we even cut it down even shorter. So it's like 9 minutes shorter now than it was when we premiered it. And that's it's a much better movie because of that. So technical things like that. As far as storytelling, I feel like I had table reads as I was writing it. We had some test screenings as we were in post-production, and those kind of helped us along the way. But almost all the time they were confirming what I was feeling. It wasn't there. I don't think there was anything in the test screenings that really surprised me or was like, oh no, we've made a mistake. How do we fix this mistake? Most of it was stuff that we were either pretty sure or was like 50-50 on, like whether they got this certain part of the story or not, which I'm okay with. Or it was just confirming what we were already suspecting was going to be the response. So.
All right. Well, hey, do me a favor. Tell me a little bit about where we can find more information about you and your movie online.
Yeah, our website is endofthedayfilm.com. So no just endofthedayfilm.com. We're on all social media, is at endofthedayfilm.com. End of the day film. Yeah, no .com there. Yeah, and so we're available for pre-order now on iTunes. Comes out on February 26th, so you can find us there. And on February 26th, it'll also be on Amazon and Google Play, so anyone can download it and rent it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking to us a little bit about your movie. And congratulations on being here at the Oxford Film Festival. And we look forward to when it drops.
Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much.